So, of course, I know that this week you have heard about Rob Reiner and his wife being found dead in their luxury home, of course, in California, right? Everybody's heard about it. It's been trending across the news. And unfortunately, his son, Nick Reiner, took his life and took his wife's life, which is his mother and father. But did you know that there are other stories that have been told that maybe are not trending in the media right now, that has trended in times past? And this is not as uncommon as you think it is. As a matter of fact, there is a term for children or kids who killed their parents. And that term is known as parricide. 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 So this is when children or kids actually terminate the lives of their parents who gave them birth. Now, the reason why this subject is very, very important is because we're talking about a family that is in mainstream media, but there are so many families who are chop shopping their family members in this time and day that it is common amongst us, more common than we think. And this actually has nothing to do with just mainstream media. This is happening all around us every day. And I'm pretty sure you've heard of some things about a cousin killing a cousin or uncle killing a brother, or all out through even maybe your lifetime. You've heard about it, right? Neighbors down the street or people at your school or whatever. And I want to talk about this because I think this is important today. I think that we should look at this when it comes to our own families. So the question I pose right now on TCLN Network is family. When to hold on, when to let go. Let's talk about it right after this.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah. You know I'm always honest. There ain't no way I'm ever stopping till I'm on top, yeah.
There are a few things that I really want to touch on today. Number one is I want to talk about children, right? I want to talk about children and sometimes the things that people overlook. There are signs, you understand what I'm saying? There are signs that people overlook when they come to children, and children building up and harboring resentment or hatred or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? There are many times throughout our culture and throughout just the American culture where people have denied children. They have denied children a voice. They have denied children an expression. And it costs. It may cost something as drastic as this, a family member killing another family member, or it may be something as simple as the child acting out in schools and just can't find their way, right? Even all the way to drug abuse and all of the things that you can think of. But I do want to hit on that. The number two thing I want to hit on is I really want people to understand when it comes to family, because a lot of times we get so much mixed information. We get so much information that confuses us and clouds our judgment, because who wants to be thought of as a parent as letting their children go? Even if it may cost you your life. Who wants to think of that? You will be thought of as a bad parent. You didn't try, you didn't care, and nobody just wants those guilt trips, right? So we're going to go over that. That's what I'm going to go over today. And then number three, I want to jump into parricide. I want to jump into some of those attributes that are within, or that are embedded, or that somehow accumulate over time within these types of children that strike out and may murder their parents or a family member. So all of that I am going to talk about today. So join me in, get comfortable. I won't keep you long. We're going to run through this, and hopefully we together can gain some type of information and insight together. So before I jump in, what I want to do is I want to show you a short clip just so you can see some of the cases that have trended in the media. And then I'm going to come right back.
This clip is used for commentary, analysis, and education under Section 107 of the Copyright Act.
But first, chilling testimony from Twisted Sisters lying to police. and unraveling behind the scenes.
What's the for? They have a coffee and donuts and have it get jolly on time. She don't care.
Tonight, identical killers now with identical sentences for killing their own mother. Twin sisters, Jasmia and Tasmia Whitehead.
Did you love your mom and dad?
Yes.
And on August 20th, 1989, did you and your brother kill your mother and father?
Yes.
Did you kill them for money? Is that no?
Answer? No.
Did you kill them because you wanted to pay them back for the way they had treated you?
No.
Why did you kill your parents?
Because we were afraid.
Today I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife.
As you can see, these cases actually do happen. And we may believe that they're uncommon, but the truth is they're very, very common, and they happen amongst us all the time within families. You understand what I'm saying? Now, these cases are trending because they're popular, right? Now, let's talk about this. I want to start off before I really jump into the details of this situation of family members killing one another, right? I want to start off with talking about Trump because I think it gets deeper, right, when it comes to certain things. There's a lot of theories out there about Rob Reiner and his wife. You know, we do have people who go beyond the news. We have people who go beyond the details. They go do their own research. They go dig into some things. And we do have people that talk about culture and they talk about like dark things that happen within our culture. Now, let me stop and say at TCLN Network, what I try to do is I try to bring education, but I'm never going to knock other people because I don't believe everything is a conspiracy theory. I don't believe just because people are speaking up about things in a different kind of way that they're necessarily a conspiracy theorist, or that they're just making up stories, or that they're just getting clout bait all the time. Sometimes that's not true. Sometimes people are willing to go where others are not willing to go. And I myself give praise to those types of people because we do have very, very dark, sadistic things that happen in our culture. So there are people who dig a little bit deeper than just what the news tell us, than just what things are broadcasted. But what I like to do again here is I let people do what they do because they are great at what they do. And I want to do what I want to do, which is to educate us, to elevate us. Now, let me start off with Trump. I want to start off with Trump because there was a back and forth with Rob Reiner and Trump, President Donald Trump. So before Donald Trump just started getting into office good, and as he progressed more and more and more, the famous filmmaker, actor, and producer, he actually had strong opinions about Trump. And of course, Trump is, I've said it before, I've made some videos before, just in case you haven't seen them. Go check out some of my videos right there on TCLN Network where I talk about Trump, and he has no filter, right? So Trump is the type of personality, if you come for him, he's going to come for you. And when he comes for you, he can be very, very kind of like, I guess you can say, like just cutthroat, right? He doesn't play when it comes to that. So let's go over that. The reason why I want to go over that, because I think that's important. Because there are some theories out there, and there are people out there that's leaning toward the political side of it, and they're leaning towards why they feel that it wasn't just Rob Reiner's son alone that took his life, that there are other factors involved on a political level. But what I just want to touch on is I want to touch on the back and forth, right? So I want to go over some of the things in comments by Rob Reiner and also comments by Trump. These are some of the things that he had to say when it came to Trump. And then I'm going to go over some of the things that Trump had to say toward him. So that way, guys, you will get a clear understanding of what that battle was actually about. So if you guys hear it in the media, you will understand why they had such hatred toward one another or disdain toward one another. And then we're going to jump into this subject of parricide, which is children killing their parents. Now, Rob Reiner was a critic. He was a very strong powerhouse in Democratic politics, and he was a critic, right? He was a major donor. He donated approximately $2.7 million to Democratic causes over the spans, also including $100,000 to Joe Biden's 2024 campaign. Now, he also had a documentary called God and Country, which critiqued Christian nationalism. So we talk about Christian white nationalism in this country, and he made a documentary that critiques that. Hence, this subject that he had in this documentary states that it placed him in intense cultural and political friction, okay? So, of course, anytime you comment on religion and politics, if people agree with you, if they disagree with you, there's going to be a problem. Of course, he did strategic activism. He was instrumental in California's Proposition 10, which was a tobacco tax for early childhood education, and the fight to overturn Proposition 8, which was the gay marriage ban. So that's a little bit about political things about him, right? So some of the things that Mr. Reiner had to say about Trump, which struck Trump to look so crude in the news when it came to his death, right? He called Trump deranged. He mentioned that Trump was deranged. So that's where Trump got that word from when he said he had Trump derangement. This man was deranged and he had such Trump derangement because he literally first called Trump deranged. So Reiner felt that Trump had a lack of mental fitness. These were some of his words. He felt that Trump, and this is what he would state, that Trump was mentally unfit to be in office. Okay? So Reiner stated that Trump was mentally unfit because he neither understood how government worked nor had any interest in learning. He frequently described Trump as the single most unqualified human being to ever hold presidency. He also stated that Trump was a threat to democracy. He viewed Trump's leadership as a direct threat to American democratic system. In the late 2024 and 2025, he warned that the country was sliding downhill towards full-on autocracy and also fascism under Trump. He also talked about as a producer for the 2024 documentary, God and Country, which critiqued the intersection between Christian nationalism and Trump's political movement. He suggested that Trump's influence was fundamentally at odds with traditional American values of fairness and justice. He also mentioned, according to Trump's own words, that he pointed out his statements as his promise to govern like an authoritarian and war on this democracy. As evidence, he was dangerous for the nation's future. So this is where Trump's comeback was, because this is what a lot of the things that, because at first Trump never talked about Reiner. It was Reiner who had these things to say about Trump. And then that's when Trump came in full on. And of course, he began to talk about Reiner. And of course, when Reiner died, he really had nothing positive to say. So guys, just in case you didn't understand what the fight and battle is about, because sometimes when we get media and when we get news, we just get bits, pieces, and parts. So when we look and be like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, which I think Trump should be more mature. I'm not going to lie. Trump does not have a filter. And as a leader, I've mentioned this in my videos before, it'll be different if you're just an everyday person. But as a leader, when you're leading millions and millions of people and millions of people across this country are looking at you and even across the world, there are just some things you just can't say. Even if you feel it, even if you felt that the man was attacking you and calling you mentally unfit and calling you all kind of names. Because let's be honest, guys, I know a lot of people don't want to be honest because, people, it's hard for them to be honest, but I'm not about being politically politically correct on this show. I'm about being honest. If people say things about us, especially in a way that attacks us, where we pride ourselves, or where we feel threatened just as human beings naturally, it doesn't feel good. And nobody likes it, no matter if you're a prominent person or if you're just a regular everyday person. So when things happen to people, people expect you to feel what they feel. So let me give you an example. I personally am not Trump. I'm not walking in Trump's shoes. I am not Trump. I have nothing to do with Trump. But I can relate. People say very horrible things about you, and you get you be like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And so when things happen, you can't feel the same way other people feel. Now, let me give you another example. I can't feel the way Trump feel. Why? Because Reiner has never done nothing to me. Trump has never done nothing to me. So those are not my battles. Those are their battles. Do you understand that? I didn't even recognize who Reiner was when they first put this in the media, but I grew up watching the shows of Reiner, and I talk about it all the time. And I did not even know that he was the actor of All in the Family. I had no idea. I talk about that show all the time, but I talk about it from a standpoint when the mother always go, Archie, Archie. You know, we used to look at that when we were kids. I remember the political themes and black and white themes that ran throughout that show. That show always had good themes for its time. But guess what? The guy who was the son, who was the actor, I had no idea that that was him that had passed away until they started mentioning it in the media. I also did not know. Do you know that one of my favorite movies is A Few Good Men? I love that movie. Now, number one, that movie was originally a play. A Few Good Men is one of my favorite, not only plays, but it is one of my favorite movies. And we all know that part in there that states you can't handle the truth. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Of course, I think it's Jackelson, and also Tom Cruise. Now, we know that was the best part that was on the stand. It had everybody over the cliffhanger edge. It was just great. It was awesome. Now, that was written by one of my favorite writers, which is Aaron Sorkin. I mean, Aaron, listen, I took one of his classes. This guy is thebomb.com. Now, have you ever heard of Shonda Rhimes, which is the showrunner for all your shows? All those good shows, Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, all those shows. She actually took and studied Aaron Sorkin also. This guy is just awesome, right? His stuff, he's just awesome. But anyway, to move on, he was a part of the director for that, right? The producer or director for that, which was Rob, the guy who just, of course, his son just took his life, right? And I had no idea. Like, I had no idea until the media started mentioning this stuff. Now, I knew about A Few Good Men. I knew about Aaron Sorkin being such a great writer, but I did not know that Rob, the guy who had all these fantastic shows when I was growing up, again, I had no idea that that was him. So I would definitely have nothing bad to say about him. That fight and that battle in the politics and in the arena and people going back and forth, these people personally have not did nothing to me, so I have nothing bad to say, so I'm going to leave it out. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of tidbit so you can see why Trump sounded the way that Trump sounded. Now, should he have been more mature? And should he have put that aside and say, okay, out of respect for the man's family and what they going through, let me curb how I feel and say something more respectful? Yes, as a leader, I will say that that's what Trump should have did, and as a world leader or as a national leader. And I'm going to leave it at that, okay? Now, let's get into PARRICIDE. Guys, this is a very, very interesting topic, right? I want to talk about, number one, this thing about these families, right? What leads up to this? Like, what are the things that people overlook? You understand what I'm saying? That tend to I wouldn't say overlook. Maybe some parents don't know how to deal with it. Maybe they thinking that they're dealing with it in the right way. And how many times you've talked to your parents and they hear you, but they don't hear you. And for those who have been through abuse, you understand what I'm saying? You know what it's like to suffer and to be shut down, especially if you like the Menendez brothers, right? Those two guys that took their father and mother's lives. Now, some people would say that that's fake, that they're acting. I did look at a lot of footage. I personally am not sure. And I personally just don't believe at moments of me looking at them that all of that was fake. I'm sorry. I just don't believe that. I just don't. I could be wrong. God knows that I could be wrong, but I don't believe that the way that that young man broke down on that stage, I just don't believe that all of that, if people want to say it's fake. Things happen, and incest happen, rape happen, molestation happens. Things have happened to us in our families and in other people's families, and families just don't like to talk about it. They just like to shut things down. But what leads one to take a life? You know what I'm saying? All of us have been through bullying of some kind, whether it's the family, not the family, or been through some horrific things, but we never had a desire, or should I say we were never pushed to the point of to kill and to murder and to terminate. You understand what I'm saying? So I would have to look at some of these things. What I wanted to do is I wanted to look at it from an expert point of view. And then I'll come back and give you a little bit of my commentary, okay? But I do want to look at it. Now, I want to start like with Nick Reiner, right? I want to talk a little bit about that. Because I said I had to dig a little bit of research. I was like, well, what did he go through with his father? Or was there something that he went through with his father and mother? Or was he just this spoiled brat who had everything and just decided to sacrifice and chop shop his parents? You know, what is really going on? Now, we do know, according to news and all that stuff, that the guy suffered a lot with drugs. Drugs. And then I thought about it. I say, okay, a lot of people do drugs, but they don't necessarily kill their family members. Lots of people do drugs, you know, but they don't have a desire to just go chop up their mother and father, right? So it's got to be something more and deeper to this story. And so I started digging, and of course, I just looked at a few things, and it was talking about how Nick would publicly acknowledge his estranged and disconnected resentfulness toward his family at various points in his life. These feelings was often tied to his long-term struggle with addiction and specific ways his parents handled his treatment. He felt that he didn't have a bond with his father like the rest of the children do. I do want to stop and hit on that. There are parents that do that. There are parents that, and we know this, it may even happened in your family. There are parents that, for some reason, they may show another child more love or more affection than they show you or show one of the children, right? And so there are families that deal with that, and it causes resentment, it causes jealousy, rejection, ostracism. So we do know those things happen. He felt like the oddball. He felt like his father would play baseball and do things with his other siblings that he would not do with him. This is according to Nick and some of the things that have been in the media and interviews and stuff like that. Because remember, they are a famous family and they've been in plenty of interviews. Sources close to the family noted that Nick harbored deep resentment toward his father, and he hated himself. He hated himself for not being as talented or successful as Rob or as his grandfather, Carl Reiner, right? So this comes from a family line of film and success and all that kind of stuff in the industry. Nick also reportedly felt like a misfit. He felt like, you know, he was the middle lost child that was just shuffled around compared to his siblings, Jake and Romy, who appeared to have much closer and more traditional relationship with their family. I do want to stop for a minute because I want to say we will never have all the details. We didn't live inside that family. We don't know that family like that. And to be honest with you, before this hit the news, we wasn't even thinking about that family like that. Let's just be honest. We were not. We had no idea, just wasn't in their affairs like that. We got our own business and our own affairs. A lot of times I ask people, especially on this show, to always use wisdom and use judgment. If you've ever been through these experiences, that means you understand a range of emotions. That means you understand a range of wordplay, manipulation, rejection, lies, deception. Like you're able to cipher through other things that people may not be able to cipher through, who quite don't deal with stuff like this, or maybe who people who just don't want to admit the truth. They just like to take sides. Well, I'm gonna take this side, you take that side. We all fight and everybody have their fights. But for you guys who have been through these types of experiences, not to the point that you wanted to take a life, but you've been through them, you have more wisdom, you have more understanding, you have more judgment and insight into things. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to a person like that who's been mentioning that stuff over and over throughout the years, you would have to understand that there was something embedded there. Do it give him a right to take his parents' life? No. But there was something that was done that was embedded there. On the other hand, this child did have the life that most people would dream of. He had a nice home. He had all these things. If he wanted a nice car, he had that. If he wanted to participate in the dreams of, whatever dream he had, whatever he wanted to pursue, they had money where they can just pay for it and do it. Whereas other families don't have money, don't have resources, and they have to struggle to become who and what they are. You understand what I'm saying? So he had those both worlds. And just because you have a good world doesn't mean that privately behind closed doors, you may not suffer another type of world. How many families out there, show of hands, you may don't have to show everybody, but show yourself. How many families out there you've lived what appeared to be a good life? Your family had the car, it had this, it had that, but behind closed doors, there was just things that just wasn't right. And then how many of you families, the very opposite? It looked like you had the car where your feet was hanging out at the bottom, like the not the Jetsons, what was that? Flintstones. Remember back in the day, guys, the cartoons, the Flintstones, the feet was just hanging out at the bottom of the car. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all had that old Ford that was rusty, dusty, and it just looked like y'all was just a broke down family on the block, but you had the most love and the most joy. So the reason why I bring those two things up, because things are not always as they appear to be. And when people do interviews, they're not going to always tell family secrets. You understand what I'm saying? So I wanted to bring that up just so you guys can understand there's always two sides to a story. Father and family has a story. Mother and daddy is tired of your drug abuse, tired of your ways. And then, of course, you have your story about the things that you went through. So there's always two sides to a story, no matter what the situations are, right? So I just wanted to bring that up. In these families, guys, I was looking at those two girls, right? The two girls who had chop their mother like that. Now, though they were never abused, they were just in these girls' cases, different from the Mendez case, because in the Mendez case, these guys went through some stuff. There are some arguments out there that say, no, they were just spoiled guys who lying on their family members and they just wanted to get away with murder, of terminating their families and doing what they done. And they wasn't abused, they're lying. And there's the family that admits that yes, they were abused, And so there's these different stories I don't know. But I do want to pinpoint these two young girls, two young twins. Wasn't abused, wasn't none of that. They were just specifically just spoiled little brats. They got everything they wanted. They would get pissed at their mom when she wouldn't let them go to a party. They would get pissed because they couldn't go do You know, if she set boundaries, they would just get pissed, you know, and they would say things like, we can't stand her, we hate her, we need to get rid of her, you know, just plotting, planning, and scheming. So there's different stories to different things and why different things happen. So that's why I wanted to show you those clips, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. People do different things for different reasons. There are stories out there, people killing their parents for insurance policy, just greed. Not that the parent was a bad parent, not that the parent was evil, just pure greed. And then there are kids who act out of abuse, and then there are kids who act out of anger and hatred. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront to say that there's no one fixed reason why. I do understand that there are many children who were abused who never had a desire to chop shop their families. It just didn't work like that. You understand that? So that's why I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to bring it up that sometimes whatever you're dealing with in your life, because like I said, I posed this question, when to hold on and when to let go. When you're dealing with troublesome children, when you're dealing with rebellious children, parents, when to hold on and when to let go. When you know you've done all you can, all that you can, and you know that you've given the best that you can, when do you let go? When a child is threatening you, when a child is disrespecting you, when it's gotten so bitter, when do you let go? Do you keep listening to the voices of people that say, no, you need to hang in there, almost like to death do you part, right? Well, the Bible never said that you hang with your children to death do you part. Sorry to tell you, but it never said that. And I'm here to encourage parents, when you've done all you can, and you've cried, and you've prayed, and you've heard it, and these are big grown cheering. We talking about 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, 50-something, and they still have no respect, have no honor, will try to abuse you and misuse you. That's when you know to let go. That's when you know to let go. You should have been done let go. Big grown cheering. Get your tail out of here. You don't want no respect. You don't want no honor. Get out. Like, go do your own thing. Get out. You don't, listen, parents, you don't stay with your children until they kill you. And kill doesn't necessarily mean physical all the time. Till they kill you mentally and emotionally and spiritually, and then you just wither away and die. Like, that is not what God told you to do. Like, you're an individual. Even though we're made to bring seed into the earth, to procreate, we're not made to die behind the procreation. Do you understand that? So when you've done all you can, and let's just say maybe you wasn't even the best parent, but you had to grow and learn along the way because nobody ever taught you. And you've apologized over and over and over. And you've done your best over and over and over. And this sucker want to use you like a little yo-yo and keep throwing up in your face what you didn't do when they were 12 and what you didn't do when they were 15. And they want to keep abusing and keep misusing and keep trying to take advantage of you and prey on you. And then talk about you behind your back and they big and grown. You got to get to the point. Because these kids get to the point where they be trying to stab you. They be trying to destroy you. They be trying to set you up and get you put in jail. All kind of stuff, y'all. Now, there's a caveat to this. There are parents that do this kind of stuff to their children. But I'm not talking about that right now. Now, children, you got to let them parents go. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you grown. You be like, if that's how y'all want to be parents, holla. My life is not indebted to you like that. I got to move on. The scripture said, respect my parents. It didn't say let my parents kill me. I got to move on. You understand what I'm saying? But right now I'm talking about parents because this is about parricide. This is about children killing. And when I say children, I don't mean little kids. I mean children. Even when you become an adult, your parents still considers you as their child. You understand that? There come a time where parents, if you see it ain't right, if you see the threats, if you hear the underlining comments, I wish you was dead. Well, honey, you gonna wish your little tail right on up out of here. I'm gonna pack your little suitcase. I'm gonna pack your little stuff, and you can have all the wishes you have, but right outside that door. Right outside that door. Remember, out of the abundance of the mouth, the heart speaks. A lot of parents do not take heed. One thing about the twins that killed their mother, this is one thing she said. She said, if something happens to me, they did it. That's how bad it had gotten. But why did it have to get that way? Because she should have took another measure. If you know that you're feeling that way, then maybe there's a separation that needs to happen. Maybe there's something that needs to happen, but there is no such thing until death do you part. And I think there were so many signs in that woman's life, because in order for her to say that, there were signs there. Guys, how many times boyfriends, girlfriends, people, all kind of stuff, we just overlook the signs and they're right there in our face. They're right there in our face. These are not 5-year-olds. These are not 10-year-old. These are big grown kids that just don't want to, they don't want to, like, what is the word? They don't want to, like, collaborate. They don't want to, like, try to see it in a better way. They want to prey on the parent. They want to abuse the parent. They want to misuse the parent. They want to dog the parent out. And you doing all you can. And there come a time, see, a lot of people think that if I let my child go, then I gave up on my child. No, boo. Letting your child go is not giving up on your child. Let me give you a scripture so that you can understand this. The scripture says, when these men grow up, right, what are they to do? They are to depart and to wean themselves and to get out there in that world and to cling to their wife. They're not to stay clung to their father and their mother. You've done your job. You know what your job was? Now, a lot of us wasn't taught that because we had babies at early ages, or we had babies out of timing, or we did all kinds of stuff through ignorance, hot sex on a platter, and just making babies and don't even understand how to raise a child. Again, there's a difference between, I made a video on that. Y'all might want to go check that one out right there on TCLN Network. There's a difference between parenting versus providing. You understand what I'm saying? You got to raise these kids. You got to put in them good things, so that good things will come out. But what happens when you have done your best? And it just seems like, okay, I'm putting all the good things in, but this is going the opposite direction. What's the problem? Well, this is what people spiritually don't understand, and this is my commentary. This is what people spiritually don't understand. You are an entity in and of yourself. Your child is an entity in and of itself. You don't own it, just like no one doesn't own you, and your parents don't own you. That is not the way the Creator or God made it. You understand what I'm saying? It's made that you have a male and you have a female. And when they join together, you understand what I'm saying? They procreate another entity. And unfortunately, sometimes when these entities come through the birth canal, they come with some stuff. Do you understand that? And people don't understand the spiritual side of it all. It's bigger than, oh, we just lay down and do the bump and grind. Oh, we just got a child. There is a lot that's involved. A lot of environment that the parents come from, a lot of spiritual things that are connected, especially if the parents were into some spiritual stuff or down the family line or something. There's more than what meets the eye. Environments that your parent can be very good parents, but they just in bad environments, all of that being surrounded around the womb, a lot of connections, a lot of spiritual stuff. People don't understand that it's really that deep sometimes. You understand what I'm saying? And when these entities come out, which is what we call our children, but they are a separate entity from you. You know, you are you, Your father is you, your mother is her. Do you understand what I'm saying? Your father is him, your mother is her, you are you, and so it is with your children. You understand that? And even though you form these bonds, at the end of the day, you're still an individual and you have your individual purpose of being in this earth. And some people don't know how to, they got that old saying, I brought you into the world, I'll take you out. That's murder, child. At the end of the day. You understand what I'm saying? So, and a lot of parents don't mean that. They just mean it out of fear tactic. Like, you better go sit down somewhere. Don't buck the system. You understand what I'm saying? Don't buck me. Don't buck me. So, but understand that they are an individual. And individuals eventually are going to make their choices. For the most part, though, when you're putting good inside these children and you really sowing some type of good inside these children, for the most part, I'm telling you, these children end up bearing good fruit. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do stupid stuff. They're going to have attitudes, tantrums. They're going to do whatever. They're going to be affected by other people's energy, other things. If they get into drugs, all this kind of stuff, that's all going to have effect of other spiritual practices that may be against them, because at the end of the day, they're going to deal with jealousy. They're going to deal with hatred. They're going to deal with things just like you have to deal with things. And sometimes they just not going to be you, and they're not going to always make the choices that you make, because they're still an individual at the end of the day. Okay. So there's different factors that go on, guys. Now I'm going to end this out, and I'm going to end this out by talking about parricide, right? Because I wanted to know, like I said, from an point of view, why did it get to that point with some children? Like why? Because a lot of children are abused or feel rejected or feel less loved than one, or they go through drugs or all different kind of heinous things, or even molestation. But they don't feel the need to kill their parents, right? We see a lot of stars. Monique, everybody went through molestation, Tyler Perry, everybody, but they don't kill their parents. You understand what I'm saying? And neither do everyday people like us, right? So let's jump into this. Let's figure out, what did the experts have to say, right? Now, they stated that it's complex and its varied reasons, typically falling into a few primary categories: a history of severe abuse, severe mental illness, or dangerous antisocial personality traits. Criminologists and mental health professionals have identified 3 main types of offenders and their motivations. Offenders, we're talking about children who terminate their parents, parricide. So number 1, severely abused children. This is the most frequently encountered type of adolescence offender. The children often kill out of desperation, terror, or a belief that murder is the only way to escape chronic and escalating physical, sexual, and emotional abuse within a dysfunctional family environment. They may have tried running away or seeking help from others without success. That happens a lot in this world. The killing is often an impulsive and act in a moment of extreme stress. Okay? So, again, severely abused children. Number 2, severely mentally children/adults. These individuals typically suffer from conditions like schizophrenia, psychosis, severe depression, and their actions may be influenced by delusions or hallucinations. They may believe that their parent is the devil or hear voices commanding them to kill. And we know that that's been said in the media and stuff like that. I remember there was a chick who put her child in the oven and who chopped her child, did all of that because she said that God told her to do it because the child was the devil, because she found the child molesting its other little brother and sister, right? And she literally told the media, I would do it all over again. And she was locked up. So she was for real about that. Often the offender has stopped taking the prescribed medication before the incident occurs. Okay? So that's number 2, severely mentally ill children and adults. Number 3, dangerously antisocial individuals. These offenders kill for selfish reasons or instrumental reasons, viewing their parents as an obstacle to their desires or goals. Reasons can include wanting access to money or an inheritance, seeking more freedom, or pursuing a relationship the parents disapprove of, like the young girls, the twin girls who killed their parents, because she specifically said they could not go out to a party or something they were trying to go do. And she said no. And they pulled patches of hair out of this woman's head, stuffed it in a shoe, and stabbed her to death. The images are just gruesome. Like I didn't put them here, but they are gruesome. And another thing with these twins, they were so like, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, because I do believe that that's spiritual. I believe that if people are not careful, you get this spiritual energy that comes over you, and that stuff can cause you, most people say the devil or demons or whatever, but it is a spiritual practice out there. Guys, you have to be careful. People be doing spiritual stuff. That's why you got to be careful about environments you in, energy that you dealing with. You got to be very careful. It's a lot of dark stuff out there, guys. But they literally did all that to her, and they were being interviewed at first, like the people's detectives and stuff. They felt so sorry for the girls, because they was like, oh, I know when they saw, went in and saw all of this was gruesome to them. How do they handle that? And they said they were sitting down and they were in an interview. They asked the girls, what can we do to make you more comfortable, to see how we can get, you guys, the help you need, or and how do we console you, or whatever the questions they were asking them, right? And the girl said, well, we want to watch CSI. And the cops said they knew immediately, the detectives, that something was off and something wasn't right. And they began to dig deeper. And then you could see them on camera. The girls was calling the officers, telling them, you need to go, you out there getting donuts, you out there eating, and you need to be going to look for the killer of our mother. It was just like crazy, right? Crazy, crazy. And that's usually what they define as these dangerous types of individuals like that. They often have a history of conduct disorder and a parent of violating others' rights without remorse. And so that's what the experts came up with. That's what they say. Of course, the religious community, I know that they would attribute to the devil, to Satan. A lot of people say that's Satan that operated through them and did all of that. I personally know without a shadow of a doubt that you can be influenced by other people's energy. It can either be you doing the actual act. It could be your own heart, your own mindset, but you can also be influenced to act in ways that, if you're not conscious, by other people's energy. So I just wanted to bring that up to say that there are so many variables to these types of situations. A lot of times people just think there's just this one answer, right? This one answer and one answer only. And the truth is, it really is that varied. So when the experts come, they don't come from a spiritual perspective. They come basically from emotion or psychological patterns, or mental patterns. The religious community come more from spiritual understanding, but they attribute everything to the devil all the time. And there's a balance to it all. Everything is not the devil. Some things can be influences of others, and some things can be yourself. And that's why you have to be careful in this world. But I want to remind parents that no matter what, if you are seeing signs that you can be harmed by your children, you must make plans. You understand that? You have to make plans. You can't just sit there and pray it away. You can't just sit there, fast it away. You have to look at what God is allowing you to see. And you have to talk to other people, and you have to make plans, and you have to protect yourself. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on your child. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. It just means that God did not put you in the earth to have a child so that your child could kill you, regardless of what the circumstances are or have been. Do you understand that? Bless, you guys be blessed. I have enjoyed doing this segment. I have enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoy it too. I hope you take what I have to say to heart. You be blessed. And as my favorite childhood reporter would say, Dan Rather, courage, my friends. Courage. See you next week. Hi there. I'm IBK with TCLN Network. So this show is a news educational commentary show. I love to inspire and to educate. So I inform, inspire, educate. Educate to elevate so that we go from situations to solutions. I would love for you to support Cash App, PayPal. Listen, if you want to find out more information about TCLN Network, just check me out right there at YouTube. Also, you can check out my platform at www.thecreativeleadershipnetwork.com. Again, that's www.thecreativeleadershipnetwork.com. TCLN Network is a growing YouTube channel. It's also a growing network. It is not just about commentary and news. It's about making sure that we stay informed so that we make better decisions with the information that we have, whether it's voting, whether it's raising children, whether it's insight into our political arena. And that's what it's about. So I take the chaos that's out there in that world and I turn it into clarity right here on TCLN Network. I invite you to join me, to subscribe right there on YouTube. I also invite you, if you are locally right here in Austin, Texas, to watch publicly every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on Austin Public Television. You guys have a blessed one, okay?
Thank you for tuning in to TCLN Network, Austin Public. TCLN Network is independently produced by IBK Media Productions. To support TCLN Network financially, visit paypal.me/TCLN Network, also TCLN Channel Podcasts. To learn more about TCLN Network, visit thecreativeleadershipnetwork.com and follow on all socials, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at IBK Media Works.